Good morning, you two. It's a great Tuesday morning. Um, got some good news to share during the meeting. So let's just wait and let some people come in. Hello, Lily. Lily is my twin sister, in case anybody doesn't know. And of course, now the dog needs to chew on his toy. Anyways, so um, first, I'd like to ask for everyone to be kind to each other in the chat. Don't bully each other. Don't judge each other. And if they are in my chat, it does not mean that they are the alcoholic. They could be here to support my channel or be here to maybe learn to help themselves or a friend or family member. So please be mindful of that. Um, Not everyone in here is an alcoholic or recovering alcoholic. So just be kind. That's all I ask. And if you're wondering what I'm reading, I do put in the description under the more on the video on YouTube. It'll bring up the book we're reading, the chapter we're reading, and the page. So, hello, Ava. If you have not seen Ava Potterfield and Friends, please go over to YouTube and check them out. They play live music and they have moon gazing videos on their I guess paranormal. Hopefully I got that right. And she's just a big supporter of mine. Good friend. So, but anyways, I'm Sandra. I'm an alcoholic, and we're gonna go ahead and get this video started. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So if y'all know, I quit smoking the middle of next month will be 6 months ago. I'm still going strong. Um, we're on our last bottle of Chantix. So hopefully when we run out, we will be okay to just go on with life as non-smokers. Um, I I have to say I do feel better not smoking. I can breathe a little better, even though I have emphysema. Um, yeah, I quit smoking a little late, but um, my oxygen and stuff is great during the day while I'm up and moving around and all that stuff. So, and my lungs are clear, except for having a little bit of emphysema. Anyways, that's enough about me. This is AA meeting, and please also don't put in the comments alcoholic drinks that you may be drinking. Um, After all, this is an AA meeting, which means no drinking. If you could just refrain from mentioning that you're drinking a drink, that would be great. And it says across the bottom of my feed, it is an AA meeting here on YouTube anyways, not on Facebook, but most people on Facebook are just my friends and family members, so I'm sure they know. So anyways, like I said, I'm an alcoholic. 1, we admitted to God we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 4, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 5, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Six, or five, I mean, I skipped one. Sorry, guys. The last one I read was four. Five, admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. Six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. Seven, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Eight, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Nine, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Stop through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, only praying for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So we're in the big book, and on page 35, the story is more about alcoholism. I'm going to start at what sort of thinking. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Or what or of what is he thinking? Cappuccino and coffee mix. Okay. Our first example is a friend we shall call Jim. This man has a charming wife and family. He inherited a lucrative automobile agency. He had a commendable World War record. He is a good salesman. Everybody likes him. He is an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for a nervous disposition. He did no drinking until he was 35. In a few years he became so violent when intoxicated that he had to be committed. On leaving the asylum, he came into contact with us. He told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled and he began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. To his contraception, he found himself drunk half a dozen times in rapid succession. On each of these occasions, he worked with him, or we worked with him. Reviewing carefully what had happened, he agreed he was a real alcoholic and in a serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his friend, or he would lose his family, or whom he had a deep affection. Yet he got drunk again. We asked him to tell us exactly how it happened. This is his story. I came to work on Tuesday morning. I remember I felt irritated and I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. I had a few words with the boss, but nothing serious. Then I decided to drive into the country and see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. I had no intention of drinking. I just thought I would get a sandwich. I also had the notion that I might find a customer for a car at this place, which was familiar for I had been going to it for years. I'd eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at a table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. Still no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. Suddenly the thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it couldn't hurt me on a full stomach. I ordered a whiskey and poured it into the milk. I vaguely sensed I was not being any too smart, but felt reassured as I was taking taking the whiskey on a full stomach. The experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another. Thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim. He was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position. To see nothing at that intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey if any he mixed it with milk. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plan insanity. How can such a lack of proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else? You may think this an extreme case. To us it is not far fetched, for this kind of drinking has been characteristic of every single one of us. We have sometimes reflected more than Jim did upon the consequences, but there was always the curious mental phenomenon that paralleled with our sound reasoning where there inevitably run some insanely trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea won out. Next day we would ask ourselves in all earnestness and sincerity, how could, how it could have happened. In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient. In the light of what always happened, we now see that when we begin to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be. Our behavior is as absurd and incomprehensible, but incomprehensible with respect to the first drink as that of an individual with a passion, says for jaywalking. Oh, let's see what this box is over here. Just a second, guys. This thing is telling me to do something, and anyway. We now see that when we begin to drink deliberately instead of casually, I already read that part, our behavior is absurd, incomprehensible with respect to the first drink as that of an individual with a passion, says for jaywalking. He gets a thrill out of skipping in front of fast-moving vehicles. He enjoys himself for a few years in spite of friendly warnings. Up to this point, you would label him a foolish chap having queer ideas of fun. Lucky then deserts him and he is slightly injured several times in succession. You would expect him, if he were normal, to cut it out. Presently he is hit again and this time has a fractured skull. Within a week of leaving the hospital, a fast-moving trolley car breaks his arm. He tells you he has decided to stop jaywalking for good, but in a few weeks he breaks both legs. Wow. On through the years, this conduct continues, accompanied by his continual promises to be careful or to keep off the street altogether. Uh, gotta check this. Just a minute, guys. Although all through the years, this conduct continues, accompanied by where's that part? Finally, he can no longer work. His wife gets a divorce, and he is held up in ridicule. He tries every known means to get the jaywalking idea out of his head. He shuts himself up in an asylum, hoping to mend his ways. But the day he comes out, he races in front of a fire engine, which breaks his back. Such a man would be crazy, wouldn't he? You may think our illustration is too ridiculous, but is it? We who have been through the ringer have to admit if we substituted alcoholism for jaywalking, the illustration would fit us exactly. However intelligent we may have been in other respects where alcohol has been involved, we have been strangely insane. It's strong language, but isn't it true? Will you lay down now? Lay down. Right now. Get up here and lay down. Now. He's being a butt. Some of you are thinking, yes, what you tell us is true, but it doesn't fully apply. We admit we have some of these symptoms, but we have not gone to the extreme you fellows did, nor are we likely to, where we understand ourselves so well after what thank you, so well after what you have told us that such things cannot happen again. We have not lost everything in life through drinking, and we certainly do not intend to. Thanks for the information. That may be true of certain non-alcoholic people who, through drinking, so drinking foolishly. Will you get out of my laundry? Crazy dog. Non-alcoholic people who, though drinking foolishly and heavily at the present time, are able to stop or moderate because their brains and bodies have not been damaged as ours were. But actual and potential alcoholics with hardly an exception will be absurdly unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. This is a point we wish to emphasize and re-emphasize to smash home upon our alcoholic readers as it has been revealed to us out of bitter experience. Let us take another illustration. Fred is partner in a well-known account firm. His income is good. He has a fine home, is happily married, and the father of promising children of college age. He is so he has so attractive a personality that he makes friends with everyone. If ever there was a successful man or successful businessman, it is Fred. To all appearance, he is a stable, well-balanced individual, yet he is alcoholic. We first saw Fred about a year ago in a hospital where he had gone to recover from a bad case of jitters. It was his first experience of this kind, and he was much ashamed of it. Far from admitting he was an alcoholic, he told himself he came to the hospital to rest his nerves. The doctor intimidated strongly that he might be worse than he realized. For a few days he was depressed about his condition. He made up his mind to quit drinking altogether. It never occurred to him that perhaps he could not do so, in spite of his character and standing. Fred would not believe himself an alcoholic, much less accept a spiritual remedy for his problem. We told him again, hold on, I skipped a page. Come on. We told him we knew about alcoholism. He was interested and conceded that he had some of the symptoms, but he was a long way from admitting that he could do nothing about it himself. He was positive that this humiliating experience, plus the knowledge he had acquired, would keep him sober the rest of his life. Self-knowledge would fix it. We heard no more of Fred for a while. One day we were told that he was back in the hospital. This time he was quite shaky. He soon indicated he was anxious to see us. The story he told is most instructive, for here was a chap absolutely convinced he had to stop drinking, who had no excuse for drinking, who exhibited splendid judgment and determination in all his other concerns, yet was flat on his back nevertheless. Another, let him tell you about it. I was much impressed with what you fellows said about alcoholism, and I frankly did not believe it would be possible for me to drink again. I rather appreciated your ideas about the subtle insanity which precedes the first drink, but I was confident it could not happen to me after what I had learned. I reasoned I was not so far advanced as most of you fellows, that I had been hugely successful in licking my other personal problems, and that I would therefore be successful where you men failed. I felt I had every right to be self-confident that it would be only a matter of exercising my willpower and keeping on guard. In this frame of mind, I went about my business, and for a time all was well. I had no trouble refusing drinks, and began to wonder if I had not been making too hard work of a simple matter. One day I went to Washington to present some accounting evidence to a government bureau. I had been out of town before during this particular dry spell, so there was nothing new about that. Basically, I felt fine. Neither did I have any pressing problem or worries. My business came off well. I was pleased and knew my partners would be too. It was the end of a perfect day, not a cloud on the horizon. I went to my hotel and leisurely dressed for dinner. As I crossed the threshold of the dining room, the thought came to mind that it would be nice to have a couple of cocktails with dinner. That was all, nothing more. I ordered a cocktail and my meal. Then I ordered another cocktail. After dinner, I decided to take a walk. When I returned to the hotel, it struck me a highball would be fine before going to bed, so I stepped into the bar and had one. I remember having several more that night and plenty next morning. I have a shadow recollection of being in an airplane bound for New York, and of finding a friendly taxicab driver at the landing field instead of my wife. The driver escorted me about for several days. I know little of where I went or what I said and did. Then came the hospital with unbearable mental and physical suffering. As soon as I regained my ability to think, I went carefully over that evening in Washington. Not only had I been off guard, I had made no fight whatever against the first drink. This time I had not thought of the consequences at all. I had commenced to drink as carelessly as though the cocktails were ginger ale, and now remembered what my alcoholic friends had told me, how how they prophesied that if I had an alcoholic mind, the time and place would come, I would drink again. They had said that, though I did raise defense, it would one day give you way before some trivial reason for having a drink. Well, just that did happen and more. For what I had learned of alcoholism did not occur to me at all. I knew from that moment that I had an alcoholic mind. Lost my spot. I saw that willpower and self-knowledge would not help in those drained mental blank spots. I've never been able to understand people who said that a problem had them hopelessly defeated. I knew then it was a crushing blow. Two of the members of Alcoholics Anonymous came to see me. They grinned, which I did not like so much, and then he asked me if I thought myself alcoholic, and if I were really licked this time. I had to concede both positions. They piled on me heaps of evidence to the effect that an alcoholic mentality, such as I had exhibited in Washington, was a hopeless condition. They cited cases of their own experience by the dozens. This process snuffed out the last flicker of conversation or conviction that I could do the job myself. Then they outlined the spiritual answer and program of action, which 100 of them had followed successfully. Though I had been only a nominal churchman, their proposals were not intellectually hard to swallow. But the program of action, though entirely sensible, was pretty drastic. It meant I would have to throw several lifelong conceptions out the window. That was not easy, but the moment I had made up my mind to go through with the process, I had the curious feeling that my alcoholic condition was relieved, as in fact it proved to be. Quite, quite as important was the discovery that spiritual principle would solve all my problems. I have since been brought into a way of living infinitely more satisfying and, I hope, more useful than the life I lived before. My old manner of life was by no means a bad one, but I would not exchange its best moments for the worst I have now. I would not go back to it even if I could. Fred's story speaks for itself. We hope it strikes home to thousands like him. He had felt only the first nip of the ringer. Most alcoholics have to be pretty badly mangled before they really commence to solve their problems. Many doctors and psychiatrists agree with our conclusions. One of these men, staff members of a world-renowned hospital, recently made the statement to some of us. What you say about the general hopelessness of the average alcoholic's plight is, in my opinion, correct. As to two of you men whose stories I have heard, there is no doubt in my mind that you were 100% hopeless apart from divine help. Had you offered yourself a patience at this hospital, I would not have taken them if I had been able to avoid it. People like you are too heartbreaking. Though not a religious person, I have profound respect for the spiritual approach in such cases as yours. For most cases, there is virtually no other solution. Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink, except in a few rare cases. Neither he nor any other human being can prove or can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power. I had, y'all know I went back out drinking. I was sober for a year without coming to AA, and then I went back out drinking. So I can relate to Fred's story. Like, I thought like she did, like, okay, I've been sober for a year. Let's go ahead and try to have that first drink. Was it a good idea? No, because even though I had already proved to myself that I could go that long without a drink, I didn't have any help from a fellowship or friends that knew what I was going through. Well, at that time I didn't know, anyways, because one of my friends is another reason why I found AA. But I thought, okay, I've been sober for a year, I can go ahead and have a drink. Well, that one drink turned into another year and a half to 2 years worth of drinking. And I quit drinking by myself again on November 15th of 2014. I have been sober ever since. And I have my friend and AA to thank for my sobriety, my family for always being here and supporting me through all of my struggles and my triumphs and my sadness. And you guys are all still here. You are my rocks to keep me here and keep me grounded to my sobriety. And um, I wouldn't change it for anything. I do not ever want to go back. I can't say that I won't because I can't predict the future. And I'm not going to set myself up for failure. But it's true, you need to have that spiritual awakening part. I didn't get it right away. It took me a while to get my spiritual awakening. I think I was sober for like a year and a half, maybe. And then I had that moment. You know, once I did my fourth step, the fourth step for me was the hardest. Because I had to come to terms with the things that I had done and things that I had blamed on myself that were not my fault. And my sponsor and I both do this. We burn. We'll write it down and then we'll burn it. Because burning it just takes it away. Um, so a lot of that stuff is gone. I don't dwell on it anymore. So, but in my sobriety journey, I've helped a few people, and it's not just women, which, you know, you're supposed to have your gender as your sponsor and all that. But to me, my friends, even if it's a guy and my guy friend needs help, I'm gonna help him. You know, so I am open to that. I'm not going to turn anybody away from me supporting their sobriety or me helping them to get sober, whatever, it is. And I've just had so much life since I quit drinking. It's amazing. I got my first job, my first full-time job, and then I got to watch both of my boys graduate high school and GED. Um, I'm more than ready to see them get married and start their future and their families if they're going to have a family. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to ever be a grandma, but I know one thing: I plan to be sober from here on out. And since I started the journey 9 years ago, um, but I have AA to thank for that because without AA, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, telling you my story. Because that was not something that I was willing to do before. But I'm here and I'm so proud to be sober. I'm proud of the people that I've helped to be sober. I'm proud of my my boys and for the things that they have done. Um, Even though one really doesn't do much, but he does help me out. Um, so, anyways, here's my other good news. I have a new job. I start Monday. I'm kind of nervous. Um, but yeah, making more money, less hours, better pay. Hey, what can I say? But um, yeah, and even in my places of employment, I'm open about being a recovering alcoholic, and I've made friends that are recovering alcoholics through work. So it's pretty incredible how many people you can touch with just doing a meeting and sharing your story. And yeah, I'm just happy to be sober. And but anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Trinity prayer and read the uh, daily reflection. I love you all. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let me open this up. Today is July 30th. Giving back. He has struck something better than gold. He may not see at once that he has barely scratched at limitless load, which will pay dividends only if he mines it for the rest of his life and insists on giving away the entire product. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 129. Thank you. All right. It'll upload so you can watch it later too if you need to. Second, guys. My part of the seventh tradition means so much more than just giving money to pay for the coffee. It means being accepted for myself by belonging to a group. For the first time, I can be responsible because I have a choice. I can learn the principles of working out problems of my daily life. by getting involved in the business of AA. By being self supporting, I can give back to AA what AA gave to me. Giving back to AA not only ensures my own sobriety, but allows me to buy insurance that AA will be my here for my grandchildren. Amen to that. So it's been a long morning, but I love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful week and I will see you all tomorrow morning. Yes, Ava, I will be live after you tomorrow morning. So I love you all. Be safe out there. Be kind. Um, be a helping hand if you can. If you see somebody looking down at the ground, smile at them. You never know if a smile will just help someone. Um, but anyways, I love you guys. Be safe. Bye.